The silence woke me. Not peaceful quiet, but an oppressive stillness pressing against my eardrums. I blinked away sleep, eyes adjusting to dim light filtering through unfamiliar curtains. Unfamiliar curtains? I sat up abruptly, heart racing. This wasn't my bedroom. Different walls, furniture, arranged oddly, yet unsettlingly familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Hello? My voice sounded strange, muffled. No response. Swinging my legs over the bed, I noticed unfamiliar pajamas. The fabric felt wrong, too scratchy. I stumbled to the door, legs unsteady. The hallway was equally unfamiliar, yet I knew where each door led. How? Descending the stairs, nausea hit me. Photos everywhere. Wedding pictures, family portraits, vacation snapshots. My face in every single one, surrounded by strangers. One beach photo caught my eye. Me, or someone identical, arm around an unknown woman. But something was off. Shadows fell wrong, my smile looked pasted on. As I stared, the image seemed to ripple, like a stone dropped in still water. For a moment, the faces blurred, morphing into something else. I blinked hard, and the photo returned to normal. Had I imagined it? "Morning, honey!" A cheerful voice from the kitchen. I froze. A woman emerged, mid-30s, brown hair, kind smile. She looked expectantly at me. But as she moved, her movements seemed perfectly measured, too fluid, almost like she was gliding rather than walking. I tried to respond, but I stammered, no words coming out of my mouth. Her smile faltered. "Everything okay?" Before I could respond, the front door burst open. "Mom! Dad! Good morning!" A teenage girl bounded in. "Hey, Dad! Can I go to Rachel's place tonight?" "Your father hasn't had his coffee yet," the woman who had just claimed to be my wife laughed. "Let him wake up first." Dad? This girl thought I was her father? The room spun. This wasn't my life. These weren't my people. Yet they knew me. As I looked around, the edges of my vision seemed to blur and warp, reality itself seeming to bend and flex. "I think I need air," I choked out, stumbling towards the door. "Wait, don't you want breakfast? I made your favorite, blueberry pancakes." I paused. "But I'm allergic to blueberries." The woman's face froze, panic in her eyes. For a split second, her features seemed to shift. Something made my blood run cold. "Oh, silly me. I meant strawberry," she said. Something felt wrong. I muttered about clearing my head and fell out the front door. The cool air hit my face. The neighborhood looked normal, but I recognized nothing. Where was I? How had I gotten here? More importantly, who was I? I tried to remember my life before this strange house, but every memory slipped away like smoke. I couldn't even remember my name. It felt like trying to grasp water, each attempt leaving me more disoriented than before. "Morning, neighbor." A man walking his dog waved. "Beautiful day, isn't it, Jason?" Jason? Was that my name? It didn't fit. As the man passed, I could have sworn for a second it seemed that his shadow didn't quite match his figure. Maybe the situation was getting to me. I sank onto the porch steps, head in hands. This had to be a dream, right? But as minutes passed, that hope faded. This felt too real. The rough texture of the wooden steps beneath me, the scent of freshly cut grass, the warmth of the sun on my skin, all painfully vivid. "Honey?" The woman's voice behind me. "What's wrong?" I turned, studying her face. Objectively attractive, but no spark of recognition, no familiarity. As I looked at her, the air around her seemed to shimmer, like heat rising from hot pavement. "I don't know you," I whispered. She blinked. "What? Of course you do. We've been married for 18 years. I shook my head vehemently. "No, you don't understand. I don't know you, that girl, this house, any of it." Her eyes widened in alarm. "Okay, let's go inside and talk. Maybe you're sick or stressed from work. We'll figure it out." She led me back inside. I felt a strange sense of dread, like I was walking to my doom. The next few hours blurred. The woman, Sandra, called a doctor. The teenage girl, Nancy, hovered nearby, worried. I answered questions as best I could. How do you explain waking up in a life that isn't yours? As I stared at photos lining the walls, something caught my eye. In one, partially obscured by a Christmas tree, was a mirror. For a split second, I saw a different face staring back. Not mine, but almost familiar. The face mouthed words I couldn't understand, eyes wide with desperation. I blinked, and it vanished. A chill ran down my spine. Sandra suggested I rest. As she tucked me in, her sleeve rode up. I glimpsed a strange tattoo on her wrist, a symbol of angles and curves that didn't resemble anything I knew, yet it gave me a jolt of dread. "What's that on your wrist?" I asked. She yanked her sleeve down, face paling. "Just an old scar. Rest now." I dozed off, waking up to darkness of night. The house was unnaturally quiet. I crept to the hallway, hearing hushed voices from Nancy's room. "I can't keep this up," Nancy whispered tensely. "He's noticing things." "We don't have a choice," Sandra replied urgently. "If we don't maintain the illusion, everything falls apart." "Illusion? What illusion?" I accidentally bumped the wall. The voices went silent. "Dad?" Nancy called. "Is that you?" I retreated quickly, mind racing. As I moved, the hallway seemed to stretch endlessly. It felt unfamiliar for the first time. The next morning, Sandra suggested I go to work. "Familiar routines might help," she said gently. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. At the office, people greeted me by name. I found myself in front of a door labeled Jason Anderson, Senior Marketing Executive. The name felt wrong, like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Inside, I booted up the computer, hoping for clues. It was full of files and emails detailing projects I didn't remember, conversations with colleagues who were no better than strangers. Everything supported this narrative. Yet why did it feel so wrong, so sinister, as though I was prey being lured in a cage? In a desk drawer, I found a small carved box covered in strange symbols. As I tried to open it, I heard a faint, familiar whisper from inside. It sounded like my own voice. A knock interrupted. A woman entered, reminding me about a meeting. As she left, her reflection in the window flickered, and for a moment, the entire office seemed to waver and distort, like an image on a scratched DVD. I blinked, and it was gone. Just a trick of the light, surely. The rest of the day passed in a haze of confusion and mounting dread. Colleagues stopped by, asking questions about projects I had no knowledge of. I deflected as best I could, making non-committal noises and promising to look into it. But with each interaction, the sense of wrongness grew. Sometimes when I wasn't looking directly at them, my coworkers' movements seemed jerky, almost puppet-like. Conversations I overheard in the hallway would abruptly cut off as I approached, replaced by unnaturally loud discussions about the weather or weekend plans. By 5, I was frayed. Sandra picked me up, asking about my day. She faced me and flashed a meaningful look. I opened my mouth to lie, to say it was fine, that things were coming back to me. But instead, what came out was, "Who am I really? What's going on? I know there is something more to this than you are telling me." Sandra's hands tightened on the wheel. "We're trying to help you," she whispered. "It's for your own good." "How is living a lie for my own good?" Anger flared. "What have you done to me?" Suddenly, pain lanced through my head. Images flashed, a dark forest, hooded figures, that strange symbol in blood. I cried out. The car's interior melted away. Strange chanting voices echoed around me. "Jason? Oh God, not again!" Sandra's voice faded as darkness claimed me. When I awoke, I was back in the bedroom. My bedroom? With no memory of how I'd gotten there. Sandra sat by the bed, her face pale and drawn. "What happened?" I croaked, my throat dry and scratchy. Sandra took a deep breath, seeming to come to a decision. Okay, I'll tell you, but you have to promise to stay calm." She explained I had been in a terrible accident months ago. The trauma had caused severe memory loss and personality changes. This life, the house, the job, the family, It was all real. But my mind kept rejecting it, slipping back into some other reality that only existed in my damaged psyche. "We've been trying to help you adjust," Sandra said, her voice thick with emotion, "to bring you back to us. But it's been so hard, watching you struggle, seeing you look at us like we're strangers." I wanted to believe her. Part of me desperately wanted this to be true, for this to be my real life that I just needed to remember. But something didn't add up. The strange symbols, the flickers of wrongness I'd seen, the box in my office drawer, how did they fit into this narrative? "I need some air," I mumbled, stumbling out of bed. Sandra tried to stop me, but I brushed past her, making my way outside. The night was cool and clear, stars twinkling overhead. I stood on the porch, trying to make sense of everything. What was real? What was delusion? I no longer knew. Sandra appeared in the doorway, her face etched with concern. "Jason, are you okay?" I looked at her. This woman who claimed to be my wife, who said she was trying to help me. Was she telling the truth? Or was she part of something darker, something I couldn't begin to comprehend? I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know anything anymore." As she led me back inside, I couldn't shake the sinister feeling, the sense of dread that I was walking deeper into a labyrinth I might never escape.